Ready? Okay, let me go get these Okay, I would like to call to order the regularly scheduled Sylvania Township Trustee meeting for December 6th. Call the roll of Mr. Mahoney. Here. Mr. Haddad. Here. Mr. Genowine. Here. Here. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, got a big meeting here, so let's keep things rolling. Approval of the minutes. We have 3 sets of them. Did anybody have any?
I didn't have any problem with any of them, so we just do them all as a group.
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve them all as a group.
Second. Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney? Yes. Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine? Yes. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
I have one.
Okay. Any of you two? Either of you two?
Nothing that I have at this point.
Okay, so hearing of the public on specific agenda items first. Why don't we, are we going to do them before we...
Well, we'd like to get to the specific item on the agenda.
We've got 2 items on here. A couple people signed in to talk about stormwater, and the majority of the people on here to discuss TARP.
We'll probably talk about title when we talk about it.
Okay. And we'll do stormwater the same. Stormwater's on the administrator as well?
No, it's actually, well, Public Works.
Okay. Does anybody have an issue waiting to discuss those when it comes up? Okay. So zoning's up.
Tim has his monthly report.
Good afternoon. The report for November, right now we stand at $566,000 for the month of November, 14 permits. Back in October, we had 34 permits for 2.7 million. To date, 328 permits issued, 46,600,000 evaluation. In regards to BZA and zoning commission cases, as you can see, there's been a fair amount of activity. To date, we've processed 29 cases in front of the zoning commission and 20 in front of the BZA. And if you have any other questions, that's all I have.
I have a question, Tim. Is there a way that, so that not only ourselves, but the people would, some trends from like 2009, 2010, 2011, are we trending up, down, middle of the road? And
we're trending back up.
We're trending back up. Next month, is there a chance that we could try to get some of those numbers a little harder, so we can kind of see it on paper what it looks like? That'd be great.
3 years?
2 is fine.
Two's good, okay.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Based 2 years back and then current year.
Yeah.
But it does seem like there's life out there, so that's encouraging. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're to Public Works. We've got Deb Angel, and I believe she is speaking on TARDA, or... Okay, then Penny Levine for stormwater.
3753 Her Road. I know in 2007, Millstream Development was awarded their PUD right behind, it's the west side of Her Road. At that time, spent a lot of money, that kind of thing, trying to fight this problem, and any construction within that area because of stormwater issues. Towards the end, as I've spoken with Mr. Zeitler and all the chains of command that have come since that point, more or less told that if the requirements were met through a PUD, really there's nothing you can do because of what the PUD says. Water issue always being the topic, needless to say, from the residents and those property owners that live in that area or run their businesses out that way. As you know, most, I'm sure, either saw the news or read about it, but maybe didn't live through another water issue and flooding. Needless to say, ground was already saturated, and we were 1.83 inches away from breaking a record, okay, back from 1950. We were also a third of an inch from breaking the record in 2006, which FEMA had declared that part of the township a disaster. Just for the month of November, we had 7.5 inches of rain already in a saturated area. I don't know if the township can, or if the county then can, look back at this situation on construction as a whole, and those areas, because he has two pieces of property on Her Road and what is behind off of Sylvania Avenue, PUD properties, that through certain things, those were issued in order to finesse and move him forward on future development. I have given Mr. Haddad, who, thank goodness, and I appreciate greatly, our fire department that did come and come to the aid of my neighbors, an elderly couple that was taken from their home by boat. Also a gentleman who's still yet to be in his home today. He still has 6 feet of water. There are pictures of various areas. First time that I know Bridge Creek was completely underwater, that development. Also, Mr. Kyle, who's in the audience, needless to say, that also, Walter, still come get your pumpkins and gourds. But needless to say, all that kind of stuff has washed its way, needless to say, even to Centennial. There were various locations for the first time on Central Avenue, just west of Centennial, that were 2 and 3 feet underwater. Areas such as Elmwood, Villa, and a variety of streets through that. Unfortunately, police department could have made a fortune by those that cannot read, apparently. When a road closed sign says road closed, I wish they would read it, including a bus from Evergreen that had children on it, that took the chance with children on a bus and went through 4 feet of water so he could shortcut his way back and around on areas that were roads closed. He chose to go down the road closed sign. 24 has it on film.
20 miles an hour.
Exactly. He was also asked by us, don't do it, turn around, and he did it anyway. He did it that morning, so he felt that 3:30 that afternoon he could make it through the water. Fortunately, he did, because I have seen and experienced myself that in 4 inches of water you get washed off the road. I ask of you, please, this board and any, we have asked prior, and any that come down the road, to please take building and construction into consideration when you are planning and plotting for zoning and any permits that are given in an area such as this. It has been noted, it has been filmed many times that this has been an issue, and still, because they meet certain needs, they are permitted. 110 homes, and Mr. Haddad, if you'd like to bring up some of the pictures, are being permitted, okay, which was under 4 feet of water, okay, and how can you put 110 homes in that area? Granted, as residents, we've fought it, we've said our piece through the years, to the point where we've said, well, if township permits it, what more can we do? Well, after this situation and people still not in their homes, somebody has to listen. Somebody has to stop the insanity.
I just want to bring up one point that was really important to me while I was out there, and Keith really showed up.
Yes.
He comes up in his car, he looks around, he goes, It's not as bad as what I think it could be. And he says, all right, see you later, luck.
He got out of his car.
I said, I can't believe that your attitude about this and these poor people in their homes. When I drove the guy back in my truck, because the only thing that could get back to his house would take him to his residence, it was awful, and it was 3 feet of water. It was right at the bottom of my truck to get into the truck. When we got there and I went to his basement, that's why I have the pictures, it was 5.5, almost 6 feet of water.
Pictures of also, too, these are homes, people will say, and also the county has said, because I've sat on this stuff, well, they can't do this, they can't do that. When you purchase a home and everything looks cool when you're purchasing it, and you've got your water heater, your furnace in the basement already, and your unit, your electrical outlet, your box, you know nothing, especially when they have said, especially, I don't know if anybody knows this, and correct me if I'm wrong, especially when homes are being sold, okay, through estate sales, foreclosures, that kind of thing. Some don't have to disclose if they have a water problem. So, he purchases this home on 5 acres, needless to say, boom. He's 6 feet underwater, sometimes 7 every time. Guess where his furnace, his water heater, and his electrical service is? In the basement. And it's still there to this day, because you cannot enter the home with all of that in there. Even if you shut it down, there's no way, everybody's out of pumps. So this is a situation that most fall into in the area out there. And I really would hope that this is really looked at, and I'm talking about impervious construction of any kind in that area. Part of that property, the 42 acres that will warrant the 110 homes, is also in floodway, not just floodplain, and I brought that up one time, that there were 6 lots that were definitely in the floodway when he proposed his project. There's nowhere for that water to go. And even when the county enacts that program, unfortunately, in 2 years, these people can't wait 2 more years for something to happen to the 10 Mile Creek and all the tributaries. There still is nowhere for this water to go when everything backs up. And you cannot create more impervious space which does not let the water absorb. All it does is drain and move somewhere else. But I hope you take that into consideration. Thanks.
Thank you. I wanted to make a few comments here. Number one, I was the one who really grilled the developer on the water and what he planned to do with it. I do think it's unfortunate when people who build their homes on her road in the last 10 years and then put in a pond to raise their elevation up so that water is going places. And I mean...
John, that's not the problem.
It is part of the problem. The other thing, Penny, I was very surprised that you and your husband got up here at a public meeting and spoke in favor of the development.
John, what did I just say? What did I just say? There was nothing we could do about it.
The next person on the agenda is Joe for stormwater.
John, do we have to sign up to speak?
Yes.
My name is Joe Reel. I live on 3609 Her Road. My first time here at this meeting, even though I've lived on that home for the last 20 years and have experienced, not just only this year, years gone by. I don't know if anybody can see this, but this is a photograph with a fire hydrant underwater. Okay? We have a serious problem here. We have a serious problem, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to bring it to your attention, gentlemen, because you're the gentlemen that have been assigned the responsibility to stand up and protect the citizens of this community. Am I correct? Am I correct, gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay. The point is, and I'm not here to hassle anybody. I'm here to bring out a point of view that I have experienced for years, that is a problem, and it's only going to get worse if there's a development that goes on, if there's construction that goes on in the field that is normally a lake when there's any rain. That water has to go somewhere. And where's it going to go? It's going to be added to what we already have, which is now a problem. Even if there is no construction, that is my primary reason here, is to object to construction of the homes that are adjacent to 10 Mile Creek. Adjacent, they're part of 10 Mile Creek. The main throughway of which carries the water off of the properties we're talking about. Even if you, I'm hoping and praying that you gentlemen, put a stop to this, no matter how far along it has gotten, okay? It hasn't started yet, and it can be corrected. And on top of that, once that is resolved, I would like to see some kind of a maintenance program on 10 Mile Creek. So that even without this development there, you can see where we have problems. A fire hydrant that's underwater is not a good thing. When you have rain to this extent, my next door neighbor was escorted out by the fire department with a boat, okay? Thank goodness for the fire department, okay? I appreciate their response and so forth, what they've done to help a neighbor. But in the meantime, when they did leave, they had to, I guess it's code, to turn off their utilities, the electric and the gas, because we know that when water infiltrates and there's electricity, you can start a fire. We see it on television all the time. Now, if the fire hydrant's underwater, in an area of that nature, where there's more potential for fires, we see a real problem, public safety, okay? It's not just a matter of protecting the property, it's protecting the citizens. So, I'm here to request officially that you gentlemen take serious consideration and negate what has already been done. I understand they've got to go ahead and construct develop these homes right on 10 Mile Creek. I would hope that we can stop that construction and anything that's back in that area that's going to cause us a greater level of flooding. We're already up there now where we need to do something for maintenance, okay? We need to do something about that, not add to the problem. Any development will add to the problem. I have a pond in my backyard, but guess what? My pond is now muddy. When I saw the water overflowing, the groundwater coming in, flowing into my pond, and my pond is high. The banks around it is high. It's the highest part of my property, and it comes over and flows in. And I'm sure I'm going to lose some fish, but okay. In the meantime, I've got to pull out my fountain because it will, the water is really that bad that it'll ruin the fountain, okay? I've been advised by an expert to do that. Gentlemen, that's my point for being here. I hope you understand. I mean it seriously. It's just not a simple request. It's a very important request, okay? Do you have any questions of me?
No, I did want to address a few things. Obviously, we've got a problem there. The 2012, the Lucas County Stormwater Coalition, obviously will be focusing in that area probably first and foremost in terms of the township where we're going to spend our resources. I also believe that I'm not going to rely on it, but I'm confident that the free market will hinder any lots being sold in that development. Just based on all the pictures that everybody in this audience has, I think you're going to have a hard time selling a lot there. But we will be taking a look at what we can do as a township to try to unwind some of what has already been done. And again, this board in particular came in with that PUD already in place, and we, through our zoning manager, was able to tweak it to less number of homes and more open space for the flooding issues. But again, this is the second time in I think 5 years that a flood of this size has struck that area. So it is a concern that we're going to have to address more.
This was 3 years ago, sir, and it was the same as what we just had. I also neglected to mention, everyone got these pieces of paper in the mail, I hope.
Yeah, your $50
as the new
charge.
tax, right?
$50 charge a year per household.
That's right, and it says right here, the purpose, the money will be used to develop plans to properly address stormwater runoff throughout the existing stormwater system.
And let me explain something to you, because I've been regularly attending the stormwater meetings, except for the last one since we appointed someone to that board. They are not gonna do anything till 2013. Next year is a year of collection, they're gonna collect all the money through the next year of over $2.3 million.
Okay?
Of that $2.3 million, there's a lot of businesses that are gonna be taxed $15,000 to $20,000 extra additional tax unless they get in compliance or build farms on their property or retention ponds, whatever they want to do to try to have less impact. I did talk to Mr. Early, he did say that marinas, he's going to try to reduce their exemption because they already drain into the lake anyways. But I said, in this situation here, what do we do about it in the meantime? Because Greg spent $50,000 a few years ago when he cleaned it out, and we didn't have a flooding problem. But now it's already been jammed back up, and we're stuck where we're at again, and that's why I wanted stormwater to be taken care of in the township by our own $800,000 a year, being reduced down to $500,000 a year, and he could have done that through our department and not wait for the county, because I know the county, they're gonna take our money and quote, spread the wealth around. We're not gonna get anything.
That $50,000 investment was well spent because I saw the difference. I saw the difference myself.
Well, we would have had our own money if we would have done it in-house, and that's my opinion still, and I still stand by it, and I wanna change that with the state.
In a retention pond, in a flood zone, in a floodway, doesn't do you any good.
No.
Because it's going to be filled in the first place.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris?
Chris Hamady, 8941 Sylvania Avenue. You know, a part of me wants to stand up here and say, I told you so, because I feel like the guy in Volcano that was screaming, you know, it's going to blow, and everybody said it's not going to blow. And just, 3 months ago or 2 months ago, I was up here saying that we're going to have another flood. And a retention pond that the developer promised, it's like putting up a seawall against a tsunami. And we can't continue to go down this road. And I think my opinion of what's gone on is, like the gentleman that just spoke said, we have so much development now, the flood plain has been taken away. It's been replaced with concrete, it's been replaced with asphalt, with roads. There's nowhere for that water to go. And I told John recently, you know, I'm okay with the development as long as there's a plan in place to dramatically increase the water volume that can go through that creek. I mean, I see that it has to be increased, the size of that trench 2 to 3 times to handle the amount of water that is now going through that. Because the way it is right now, again, 20 feet from my front door, the water filled my yard. And I see my neighbors who couldn't even get out of their homes. And we just, to reiterate what everybody said, and to reiterate what I've said in the past, I gladly pay my taxes. My taxes are high in Sylvania. I'm proud of my town. But we have to do something with this situation because I don't want to see any more damage happen.
Thank you.
I don't think this is a quick fix situation. I mean, this is going to be a long time coming, and, you know, we are working towards it, and a lot of township resources will be dedicated towards correcting the flooding out there. That's been an issue for many years now. So you guys do have our attention. We will be working with you and working on, you know, what we can do out there. But I don't think it's going to be, you know, something where we could go out and dig it 3 feet deeper and all of a sudden, you know, that problem is alleviated. Obviously, there was a heck of a lot of water that has to go somewhere. And I know the county had talked about draining it into the quarry at one point in time and things, so, you know, we're just going to see what our options are and, you know, try to keep making progress here, so thank you. And with that, Mr. Huffman, you're on the hot seat.
Greg has his monthly report and then a couple resolutions.
Monthly report for November has been submitted for your review. Just a few highlights. We're well over 100 catch basins repaired. In fact, our leaf pickup program will end maybe tomorrow or Thursday, and we still have 2 or 3 more catch basins to repair. And I'll talk about the Stormwater Action Group a little later. One thing occurred last month, though. We were able to help out. Springfield Township experienced a lot of equipment failure with their leaf pickup program, so we were able to loan them some leaf pickup equipment for a little bit, for some time, so they could make their repairs. Actually, they had to wait on some parts returning. Pending your questions on the monthly report, I'll move on to the next item.
I got a question for you, Greg. The 100 catch basins, are you guys, I know we talked a little bit about maybe looking at a locking mechanism on these catch basins. Are you guys giving any more thought on that, so we don't get any more of these? Are these the ones that have been stolen?
The 35 catch basin grates.
Okay, I thought you meant 100, like you had to repair 100 of them as a result of this being stolen.
But we replaced 35 catch basin grates that have been stolen over the last few weeks. Each grate is about $120. Scrap cost is about $12. We welded some of these grates down to place, in place to the frame.
Great.
So we're looking at that.
I know you were, I just wanted to make sure. I thought I misread this, sorry.
Recommending resolution 11-196, I'm sorry, 195.
195. I'll offer resolution number 195, reject all bid received from November 14th, bid open, and re-advertise for the bid for the 2012 yard waste drop-off site.
Second. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway? Yes.
And recommending resolution 196. This is the authorization to sell obsolete, unused equipment, 1992 Chevy pickup, 1996 Dodge Ram.
Offer resolution 11-196, the sale of obsolete road department equipment.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway? Yes.
Just a quick discussion on the OPWC application ranking that took place last Tuesday. I'm very pleased to announce, once again, we barely qualified for grant funding. This would be for our 2013 construction year. This will encompass the roundabout at Mitchell Road and Savannah Avenue, along with resurfacing of a couple of areas in the township. Our project application ranked 91 points. The cutoff for funding was 90 points, so we were able to get by with just 1 point. The grant funds we'll receive are $750,000, and that will consist of 3.77 miles of roadway.
Great.
Thanks.
Recommending resolution 11-197 to rescind the resolution to purchase the roadside tractor mower. There was some mathematical errors on the bidders portion of this, so.
So we're not going to get it?
I'd like to review this whole area, this whole
Okay.
topic next month.
I'll offer resolution 11-197, rescind purchase of the roadside tractor mower.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway? Yes.
Just a quick summary on the SWAG meeting. All townships met at Springfield Township and discussed this. What I recommend is we may want to meet with the county engineer separately to deal with our issues. There was a lot of discussion between the other townships, and let's meet, separately with the county engineers. In essence, $830,000 generated. We have some other past items to take care of, cobblestone, the petitions, back payment of the consultants and such, but just a brief update. So.
And advertisory services?
Yes, recommending resolution 11-204, This deals with the 2012 resurfacing project. Again, this is part of OPWC. About 48% funding, state grant, 3 miles of roadway, parts of Corey Meadows subdivision, St. James subdivisions, and Jamesford Woods subdivisions. I also have a Mylar sheet in your room if you'd please sign that.
Offer resolution 11-204 for 2012 resurfacing project. Advertised.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the fire department, and the chief will talk about a fee schedule.
Good evening. I emailed and also left a copy of our fee schedule in your mailboxes a couple weeks ago and asked that you take a look at it. If you have any questions about any of that, I would like to try to move forward with that. It is based on the new fire code, and I believe last meeting I discussed with you that the new fire code wasn't going to be out until the end of December. We're getting now that the state will be out with it sometime early January. We have all ordered the books, so as soon as we get the new fire code, we will make sure that they are available for review by anybody that wants to review them. And at that time, we'll ask you also to approve the new fire code. Not sure if you're willing to move on that fee schedule tonight, or if you want to do it all together with the new fire code.
We're at resolution 11-204.
204, I believe, yes, sir. I'm sorry, 207?
207?
207.
Okay. I'll offer resolution 11-207 to approve the fee schedule for the fire department and charging fees per.
Okay.
And I will second that under one condition.
Yes, sir.
You get it on the website tomorrow so the residents can look at it if they have any questions as to what that fee schedule is.
Will do.
Okay?
Yeah.
Seconded. And Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Next item is the police department, and I don't think they have anything for the agenda at this time. Which brings us to the administrator. I have 2 resolutions talked about.
Well, should we bring up the people who signed in for TARDA at this time?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was that?
We're going to do the liquor permit and the,
I have a review of the liquor permit. It was approved by the fire department and the police department. It's at 3535 Holland, Sylvania Road. It's coming from a company called, I think it's Cayenne Holding LLC, and it's going to go to Timothy Wu Properties, doing business as Frogtown in Patio.
The old Frog Towns, right?
Yeah,
Kirienia, it's Greek, I can't speak it.
that's,
and if we don't take any action on it, then it just
if you
goes.
do not have to do anything on it, it is approved. It was approved by both the police and fire.
Okay. And the next item
Is a resolution to adopt the personnel policies for non-union staff. Susan will address that. She's been working on that.
Good evening. You have before you Resolution 11-206 to adopt policies for the non-union staff. As you know, we have a lot of policies that we have been updating and adding. However, I've not had the opportunity to meet with the labor management committees to go over the union policies that affect them. We're in labor negotiations right now, so we're kind of delaying that till January. But it was important to adopt some of these policies for the non-union staff that will be effective January 1.
When did you put that in our mailbox? It's been 3 or 4 weeks ago.
All right, I remember the one on the mailbox.
It was a thick one.
I thought there was something new, yeah, I saw that when I went through it.
Okay, I'd like to offer Resolution 11-206, adopt personnel policies for non-union staff.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine? Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for getting that together, Susan. I know there's a lot of off-the-books policies and things, and it's nice to have them formalized.
Now, before we bring the citizens up to discuss this next resolution, I just want to give a quick overview of how we got where we're at right now. About a month ago, our legal counsel was notified by the Ohio Department of Taxation that they came up with this ruling that if anybody wanted to opt out of TARDA, they had to vote in the March primary of this year to not collect, so the tax would not be collected in 2013. Anything after that, even if you voted in June, if it was a June primary, the tax would be collected through 2013 and it would not come off until 2014. This was a ruling that I think caught everybody by surprise, that they would not allow a June primary to get you off for 2013. So that's how we are kind of rushed at this time to put this resolution in front of the trustees. And with that, I'll let the people.
Okay, Deb Angel. You know what?
We have a mic over there.
Yeah, why don't we put a mic right here?
Jim, you have a mic there?
And then if you could just come over here and say your name and your address.
Deb Angel, 2922 Higgins Street, apartment 2, Toledo. And I have tried to make you guys aware that if you opt out of TARDA, you are also opting out of TARPS, the paratransit service, because by the ADA guidelines and the Federal Transit Authority, you have to have fixed route service in order to provide the complimentary paratransit service. So you could not go and contract with TARDA for Colorado and get paratransit services. There's nothing stating that you can't opt out and try to get a contract for Colorado. But you have to have a fixed route service in order to provide paratransit. I'm not sure that there's any agencies that I have seen anyway, that would be capable of providing a similar service for a comparable amount of funds. Okay, I know that TSC transportation has been discussed. I know that there have been other providers that have been thought about and reviewed, and in my opinion, not that it's worth anything, but in my opinion, I don't think that they are capable of providing the same type of fixed route or paratransit service that y'all are getting now. TARDA and TARPS are funded through, yes, public monies, but they are a very low fare compared to other transit authorities in the state, across the country. They are very reasonably fared. So I just want to make you guys aware of that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben.
Mr. Al Hayes?
My name's Al Hayes, I live at 7040 Whitetail Court. Here once again to give you my opinion. I understand your plight. I understand what's going on. We're paying a lot of money for a lot of service that we're not getting. I guess the question is should you put it on the ballot? I agree. I think you should put it on the ballot and let the people speak about it. I understand that we have some bumps in the road, but nobody's going to hit that bump in the road until we have a chance to look at it. I'm sure we're not going to leave anybody out in the cold. I don't know about fixed routes. I just care about our residents. I'm not willing to fund other areas. If you live here,
I would assume that we will have a way to get you from point A to point B. That's all I have. Just my opinion as a taxpayer.
Thank you. Carol Lindhuber?
Carol Lindhuber, 5300 Brandy Lane. I think that probably you as trustees and I pretty much agree that TARTA does not provide sufficient value for our tax dollars. We've had this discussion before. And I certainly have no problem with you putting it on the ballot. I think that the people should speak and have the right to vote on it. The one thing that I hope that you will consider before you make that decision about putting it on the ballot, my understanding is that if you opt out, if Sylvania Township puts it on the ballot and the people vote to opt out, then you as Sylvania Township no longer have any say. You're out of it. And if TARTA comes and wants to put a sales tax on the ballot, only those who are members of TARTA can prevent that. And Sylvania Township did prevent that from happening either, I forget whether it was this year or late last year. So if we're opted out here and TARTA wants to put the sales tax on the ballot, only those people who are in TARTA at the time can keep that from happening. And everybody, my understanding is everybody in the county will have to pay that sales tax. So you will have no say. Toledo will vote for it because Toledo has the plurality of votes. You'll be paying the sales tax even though you're not in TARTA. That's my only concern. Please keep that in mind.
Thank you, Carol.
Just 1 second, speaking with our counselor, if there's a countywide sales tax, the county would be a member of TARTA.
Right.
That means the whole county is in it, and we would be...
That's what I was going to say. If they go to support a sales tax, and all the other 6 members or 5 members, whoever's left of TARTA, if they all decide to opt out. Because I know Perrysburg is waiting to hear from us, Rossford's waiting to hear what we're going to do tonight. I guess we're the guys who make the decisions. I don't know, so that's good. My point is that if they decide to go to a sales tax, they have to get Lucas County to be approved to be a member of TARTA, and then it would be all through Lucas County. They have to provide service all the way even to Providence and Bona. So if they want to go through that expense and that much cost to put a sales tax on and get it passed, we still get the right to vote on it, Carol. So it will not be...
Would you get the right to vote on it as an individual?
No, as part of a
as the
county.
whole
Yeah,
Lucas County.
But all of Lucas County will encompass Toledo, which now you have a veto, basically. But all of Lucas, when you're with all of Lucas County, you're dependent on all the rest of the county. You won't have that veto. And Toledo will say yes, and that'll be it.
But TARTA is the only entity like it in the state of Ohio that provides service through property tax instead of through a sales tax.
Well, I know, but they'll have the property tax and they'll
Well,
have the sales tax.
then they're going to have to provide service all the way out to Providence, so if I feel like going to Providence on a bus, I'll take a bus instead of driving my car.
Well,
If that passes, but we'll worry about that.
There's a
because
lot of things in
Yeah.
this that are, we were finding out on a daily basis, and that's interesting to a different perspective we will keep in mind. Thank you.
keep in mind. Thank you.
Jessica Weinberg?
Going all the way back, I guess I should do right. Jessica Weinberg, 7168 Tottenham Road. The address gets written as Toledo, but it's 43617 in Sylvania Township. The very first time, going all the way back to the first time you did veto the sales tax, I remember being up here and then trustee Contrada said, we need to remember the importance of TARTA of public transportation for people with disabilities, and I thanked her for acknowledging that, and Mr. Genowine responded, "We are not voting to take away all public transportation," or something to that effect. Nobody's against that, we just don't like how Tarta's doing it. But this vote tonight, in effect, would be all, because unless you have some kind of plan on the table, and you're talking about us using other providers, you don't seem to have anything in place right now. So this seems to, you kind of, we thought we heard you say we weren't going to rush this through without having something to put in its place, but it looks like tonight that's just what you're doing. And I'd like you to keep in mind that this is not isolated. The R in the anagram TARTA means regional, and there's a reason for that. So it's not just Sylvania Township votes on to have TARTA or not. People want to go and need to go in between the jurisdictions. I work on Reynolds Road. I'm not exactly sure if that's still Sylvania Township. I think that is Toledo. We've had events in all the banquet facilities from downtown Toledo to Maumee. People from Toledo, we had another advocate that spoke about wanting to come to the Sylvania Township Walmart. It's not just the people of the city of Sylvania. We have people that want to come use the St. James Club, use things in Sylvania Township, and vice versa. I don't see how, even if we get our own provider that goes around the township, it seems like you're going to have to connect that up with TARTA somewhere, and I don't see how that's going to be more efficient. The drive or TARP's ride to my workplace is about 5 to 8 minutes, but I think it goes over that borderline into Toledo. If I had to go to another location this building or the Ability Center, those are all in Sylvania Township, but they're actually farther away. If you had to do some kind of route to go there and then get on a TARTA route, that's going to be longer. I understood the purpose of hiring this consultant, Mr. Rubino, was to, in fact, I remember Mr. Mahoney saying it's a completely independent study, and for all we know, it could tell us TARTA's the best deal in town. And I understand you're going to have this forum to discuss options next week, and I understand you were kind of locked into that because he seems to be in town for a limited period of time, and I'm wondering how somebody from Florida can do a good evaluation of what we need if he's never even here. But you seem to be voting to get out of TARTA first and asking questions about what we're going to do for transportation later, and I thought that was exactly what you promised not to do.
Thank you, Jessica. We kept it 3 minutes and
I'll just say one thing quickly, that regardless of we're just talking about things like efficiency, there's a lot of services that TARTA provides to people with disabilities other than the transportation. There's some that get walked door to door, because if they have visual or those kind of impairments, the wheelchair accessibility, those things are going to be needed, and I think they're probably required under the ADA.
Thank you.
I would like to comment that I don't like to be quoted or paraphrased when I'm sitting here. If you want my input or something, I'm here, I can respond to it. You brought up a meeting a year ago or 6 months ago, and I don't recall saying that exact thing, but I don't like that. I'm here, you could ask me my thought on that. Next person. Mr. Paul Croyer.
Paul Croyer, I live at 2637 Hessler Road. That's out Central Avenue by King Road. I would like to have a chance to vote on this TARTA. I'd like to see it on the ballot. For years, I've been upset with these empty buses I see come out there all the time. I assume like maybe the bus drivers, like the Maytag man, are lonely all the time. Then they painted the window shut on the side of the buses so we couldn't see that they're empty. So I would just like to have a chance to vote on it. Out of my real estate taxes, I pay over $1,400 a year that goes to TARDA, which is a lot of money for these empty buses. I'd just like to see it on the ballot.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
And I think the last one is Ernie.
You want to speak on an agenda item?
Yeah, Tarda.
Okay, let him sign up.
Good evening, Ernie Grandson, 167 Pine Ridge, Toledo, Ohio, 43612. You guys have requested Mr. Robino to come in to do a study on this matter, and I think it would be very advantageous to do that study properly and then make whatever recommendation you do. I think it's not very beneficial to have a gentleman come in from Florida and spend time here to do a study to find out, yes, you do have a good system, and well, unfortunately, the board would have already voted on it, and I understand there was issues with sales tax thing. In the bill, it specifically states that Lucas County cannot opt in. So with that being said, sales tax is off the table for whatever time being. And there's also information going on that the bill is supposed to be revised in 2012. Again, if you didn't have Mr. Robino coming in next week to do a study for your township, I would say, yes, go ahead and do your voting. But now that you do have Mr. Robino coming in, I really think you should wait to hear what he has to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ernie.
Okay, got a couple more. Tiffany Cope, is it?
Coach Ross, do you mind if Corey and I testify together?
Sure.
Here, come on.
Please just state your name and...
You can go on title, okay?
Hi, I'm Tiffany Cook Charles. I am a job developer at Career Connections at Harbor. No? That's you? Okay, oops, sorry. It was busted, I didn't know. My client, Corey Dixon, got word of this today about her services. This severely impacts the ability for people with disabilities who live in Lucas County to find jobs. Corey lives in Sylvania, Ohio, and has put up multiple applications at Sylvania Township restaurants. She cannot get to and from work if this service is cut. Her parents both work, thus further putting her on disability for a longer period of time. And this is a way, this ostracizes people with disabilities from working, from patronizing the community, and from being able to get around in general. This impacts people who are blind, people with epilepsy, and multiple other disabilities. And it's a great injustice to do this to people. And it's happened in Perrysburg, and we're just further limiting the places where they can work at. And I find it just very hurtful to people who, in some ways can't get her to speak for themselves unless they have TARDA.
Thank you.
Go ahead. This is Corey.
Hi, my name is Corey Dixon. I just moved here from Pittsburgh, and since 2009, and I've been looking for a job since 2009. I can't drive. I'm learning disabled. I have ADD, and I don't know this place very well. So I trust on TARPs because they know everything, but I don't. So I'm safe to be on the TARPs. I mean, take me home safe. They call me when they're on their way. I'm going to miss TARPs if they go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Troy Stevenson.
My name
name is Troy Stevenson, 6131 Secluded Court. Just for the record, I'm also the representative for Sylvania Township on the TARDA Board of Trustees. For today, I want to share some information that I do have. I think it's important as you look at this opt-out vote. The TARDA, the overall budget for TARDA this year is going to be about $28.1 million. Of that, 17% comes from fees that are paid by passengers, so majority of the TARDA operation is funded by tax revenue. Of that, $1.9 million does come from Sylvania tax levies, which is about 6.5%. So I think that's important to understand, but also to exactly what's going to happen if TARDA does opt out. I did get with Jim Gee to try and get more granular information to share, so you have this information. If we opted out, it would take effect 6 months after the vote is certified. And there's still some questions that need to be answered. Would we get that benefit through the remainder of the year or not? If the 6 months would be hard and fast, that does need to be sorted out. Specifically, what would Sylvania Township lose in this? It would be Route 5, which serves Door Street, Holland, Sylvania, and the Walmart in Sylvania Township. Only the township portion of that would go away. Route 7, which is the express route, the park and ride, which is from Meyer to downtown Toledo, that's one that I think frequently I've been told by people I've talked to, that's with some of the empty buses that you see quite frequently. Route 20, which serves Central Avenue between Meyer and downtown Toledo. Sorry, I already said that. The color ride services and the TARP services. There are some other routes such as 2C between Lord's Flower, Frank Park Mall, and 19. And Route 39 that would also be affected through portions that affect Sylvania Township. On the ridership information that I got from Jim Gee also was this year it's expected that 84,000 Sylvania Township riders will be on the bus. 47,000 of those riders is on the fixed route system, so that's less than 1,000 rides per week. 23,000 is the caller ride and 14,000 is the TARPs. And there's about 350 registered TARPs user in Sylvania Township. If you take the $1.9 million that Sylvania Township residents do pay, that's about $22.61 per ride. Now that's overall, that's for all the...
What was that last thing you made? I'm sorry, I didn't get that number.
The $1.9 million, with the 84,000 rides that happen, it's about $22.61 per ride in 2012. So as you make this decision to put this on the ballot, I want to share that information with you. Thank you.
Hey, Troy, I'd like to thank you for being on our board and helping, bring back information. It's awesome. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
And Troy, I would like to confirm, the thing that I've always been told is it's very difficult to determine the level of ridership. So where did we come up with 84,000 and...
Yeah, all that does come from Jim Gee from TARDA.
And do they have, monitor on the bus that keeps track of it, or paid ridership, or?
Yeah, I can't confirm how that's actually calculated by TARDA.
Thank you, and again, thanks for the email updating us as to your meeting. I think this is a very welcomed communication, Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, I have a comment to make real briefly on this thing. When we talk about 84,000 rides, we're also including the money shuttles that go from Centennial all the way downtown, fill up our game and back and forth. When you're talking about the ridership per week, it breaks down to 70 riders per day going both ways. 70 riders a day. These are the average number of people that use our bus system out here. It was 68, we've upped it to 2 more. We are paying a little bit more than that because when you break down the money shuttle and everything else, forget all the other stuff, the fixed route costs and everything, it's about $38 a rider. Both ways, it's costing us a ton of money out here, and I believe our taxpayers have the right to vote if they want TARDA or not. It shouldn't be made by just us or by people coming in here who say, well, how are we going to get around? Before 1900, we got around by horse and buggy pretty well. And people with disabilities got around in those horses and buggies. And then after cars came into play, and then we had buses and trains and transit systems and everything, I think the citizens have a right to vote if they want to keep it or not. If it wins by 1 vote, we're in TARDA and we'll just drop the whole issue. If it loses by 1 vote, then we got to definitely find something else if the people want it. But if it loses by 60% of the vote, where people say we want out, we don't want to pay any more for public transportation, that's telling us, hey, we're not going to cost up any more money for people to ride around. So they have to find their own ways to get around. They do it in Portland, Oregon. I find out that they do it by, they have a system where they call people and their people go and pick up people and move them around for them at much less cost. They still have their public transportation, but most people get around by calling a buddy or calling a friend, and they pick them up and drop them off on the way to work, and it saves a ton of money. So those are my thoughts. Thank you. Sorry.
We do have one more person who signed in to speak, Mr. Bert Graham.
I'm Bert Ranch, and I live on Wilford Road, and I was here at the last meeting complaining about empty buses, which I see every day. My wife gets her blood tested for Coumadin by Myers, and there's 3 or 4 buses, not one person on them. Now, these people that are disabled complain about it. I have a disabled sister. She does not ride a bus. They have a program in agenda set up for them. They can make calls of whether it be volunteers or a cab, and it is taken care of for them. So there is something set up for these people disabled. It's just like, this is like going to a grocery store shopping in a dump truck. I mean, you just can't keep doing this.
I like that, Bert.
And it isn't just 1 bus, 2 buses. You can stay out there all day and just have 1 person comes in, then 2 leave, and then the next 3 buses come in, nobody on it. And you see it, as he said, Holland, Sylvania, and Central, you see it at Myers. It's not just in one spot. It's all over. Thank you.
Thanks, Bert.
Thank you. That is the last person to sign in to speak. Mr. Mahoney, do you have any comments? Or Mr. Haddad, do you have anything to add?
I still believe that we should offer Resolution 11-205, authorizing Lucas County Board of Elections, so it will be on the spring ballot. For Sylvania's Township withdrawal from Tarda, let our citizens decide. It's up to you guys if you want to second.
I'd like to say a few things.
You want to second it, Tom, or you want to?
Well, yeah.
Because we have to table it or vote.
Well,
I'll second it.
Okay, then let's discuss it, we can table it.
I believe that we've got a time frame here, if we put it on the ballot tonight, that if something would happen after our meeting next 2 weeks from now, after our reports from Joe, after maybe information that Carol's brought on, that would totally change our opinion of what we talk about tonight, that we would have an opportunity to opt out if we find something that is a curveball to all of us. I think there's a lot of moving parts here, as I said from day one. I think we've got a lot of, we've got people that have been interested. We've told people all along that we're going to keep this dialogue open and opportunities to speak. And I feel that, I'm willing to vote on it tonight to put it on the March ballot, but as a caveat, I'd like to have, if there's a curveball thrown into in the next, 45 days, John?
You would, safely, I could say through the month of January.
The month of January. And that's where we want to, I believe we still need to follow through with what we said, me personally, of getting people to the table and talking about options, and I want a plan. We're going to have a plan, whether we get it off launched by March, Ernie, who knows? We hope to find out after December, at the end of December, that might happen. And by golly, we're going to have a plan come November, so we're not going to be, nobody's going to be holding, I don't want to say holding the bag, but we want to make sure we're thoughtful and considerate of everybody out in the township. And as Mr. Haddad said, there's a lot of people are saying, hey, get this on the ballot, get this on the ballot. I'm not disagreeing with anybody. Let the people decide, and that's what it's all about. But if we can get some type of a thought process that if there's a plan B, if there is a plan B.
Well, I can help you out there. They do a June primary on top of the March primary. And if we find out that we do need alternate form of transportation, we can also put on at that point in time collection of monies for a service that's provided in the township only at a much reduced cost. So that would be our caveat to help us out. And if we have to, it's going to cost us $25,000 to put our special election out there to provide a service like that if we need to do that. But this is our last chance to get it on, so we're not paying for 2 more years of taxes on Tarda if the people say they want out. That's all I'm saying. Right. So we will have options in the meantime that if he has a meeting and the public shows that they still want a public transportation at a much reduced cost, we can still get that, provide that. So, I mean, we do have options out. It's not that we're just making a decision.
Okay.
And just for clarification, people in the audience, when they talk about the meeting, there's a public forum that's going to be held out here December 14th at 3:30, open to the public, hosted by consultant Joe Rubino. And at that time, he wants to hear from everybody, as we said earlier, that people can come and address. He's looking for the transportation needs and wants of the township, and that's what this meeting will be about. So,
What time is that?
3:30.
December 13th?
14th.
I would like to add a few comments of my own. Obviously, this is bad timing. We've had this meeting scheduled for over a month now, brought to our attention about getting it on the primary ballot. So it's not working out best in timing, but we do have the option to unwind it if it doesn't happen. It's not an easy decision. There are a lot of moving parts to it. But I have always found the best way to deal with a difficult situation is head-on and, as soon as possible. So I'm in favor of putting it on the ballot, and let's call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Mahoney? Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
And the next item on the agenda is the fiscal officer, and I'll turn it over to Dave.
Okay, we do have our month-end analysis, and normally we have it up at the next meeting, but Jim been able to get it together. If you really look at our numbers, our revenues are going to be pretty close. We'll have a little bit more money coming in. We'll probably be a little bit short of 100% on our revenues. And so, but we're awfully close. And in part, our revenues are driven by tax levy monies, really, and our predictions there are coming to be very accurate, but we also rely a lot on the auditors. It's not all us. The auditor gives us a lot of input and information on what our levies are going to be, but the way we really control our finances in the township is on the expenditure side. That's where we really have much more input in that. And if you notice, in the expenditure side, I think we're doing really very well. This is through November. This will change some, and the expenditures will go up some because we'll have some December expenses. But again, on the expenditure side, I think that the township has done a good job on our expenditures. And so that's where I think we could really control more our fate. Other than putting new levies on or taking levies off and things like that, we try to watch our expenditures. And this year, I think we've done a very good job. I really don't see anything in December that's going to be surprising. So right now, I think financially, the township is doing very well this past year. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Thanks.
We're good.
Thanks. And Jim is going to review the resolutions for us here.
If I may, I'd like to just comment real quickly on this. We still have some what we call cap tax coming in, and that's going to bring those percentages up to about 98%. What we lost through this through the new budget bill, they eliminated as much what was previously published and what we put our budget together on for 2011. They eliminated about $469,000 of that money, plus another $145,000 of the utility deregulation taxes that we would have gotten, and that would have put us above the 100% mark in every one of the categories. So, there's not much I can do about it.
Jim, so we can start getting a feel of, for next year, when we lose the estate tax and the CAT, could we start putting a separate line so we're able to see where we're at and what will the effect be with the county, so we can try to keep our budget expenses kind of in the thought with when the taxes.
Well, if you remember correctly, we're not going to lose the state tax in 2014.
Well, only half. We're only getting half.
No, we're going to get all of it. Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to lose half in 2013.
Okay.
It's effective January 1st, 2014.
Okay. Okay, so we'll start talking about that next year. Okay.
So.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, we still get this.
I thought we only get half.
We should.
I'd like to offer for your consideration Resolution 11-198, and this is a transfer of appropriations. And again, this is just cleaning up. We have some cleaning up to do at the year end. Most of them are small amounts. There's a couple big items that we have to transfer to cover some shortfalls. One particular is gasoline, and there's not much, the price of gasoline went up. And then we added a dispatcher, and that's a pretty significant amount of money that we had to transfer, but we didn't have to increase the appropriations, so we just transferred from other departments, so.
Offer Resolution 11-198, transfer of appropriations.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Mr. General, I'm finishing one thing.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
I just want to see one number there, okay.
Excuse me, I'd like to offer for your consideration Resolution 11-199. This is an increase in appropriations, but it's in some grant funds in our, what we call our private trust fund. We got some monies from some grants that we'd still like to spend, and we need to get that scat tax in the police department. We did receive some money on if you remember, we had a pervious concrete grant fund.
Yeah.
That money portion was received, but it was spent out of the permanent improvement fund, so I have to increase the transfer out appropriation. And then the last one is the trust fund, and that's for our 125. And we ended up spending more money of the employees' money. They take that out of their paycheck and put it into this fund than what we had originally anticipated, so.
Okay, I offer Resolution 11-199 to increase appropriations and unencumbered balance.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to offer Resolution 11-200, and this is, again, a year-end cleanup. We want to reduce appropriations in these particular line items, and we have to do this in order to comply with statute.
Okay, I offer Resolution 11-200 to reduce appropriations in the various accounts.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to offer, or for your consideration, Resolution 11-201. This is a transfer of funds, and if you remember, I just spoke about the pervious concrete grant that we received. Now this is to transfer the money to the permanent improvement fund so I can cover that expenditure.
Offer Resolution 11-201, transfer of funds.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Excuse me, I'd like to offer for your consideration Resolution 11-202, and this basically is the adoption of the budget for 2012. And you have before you those white books
Right.
with the budget. We've had several meetings, and we've met with everybody, or talked to departments. We've worked on this budget, and this is the fruit of our efforts in adopting the budget. There's a little more in there than just the line items. I've tried to put some information as to valuations, what's the source of our revenues, et cetera. So, but this is the adoption of the appropriation resolution for 2012.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
No, you offer the resolution.
I offer Resolution 11-202 for the annual budget.
Second.
Okay, I got a question now. Are we using our savings to put into the budget this year, $100,000? Is that correct?
Well, we're using part of our fund balance, which if you consider that the savings, we're using part of that fund balance. In other words, we're spending part of what our...
Which is $100,000 approximately, the way I see it?
Approximately, it just depends on which...
So if we can do some house cleaning up where I've got a few ideas and I can work it over with the administrator and they can...
And then we wouldn't spend it.
Huh?
then we wouldn't spend it.
Okay, that's what I want to do, because I got a couple ideas for some cleanup ideas to save us that money.
As you remember on our first thing on our report, we're only spending at 78-80% of what we had appropriated.
I know, but I'm more worried about down the road to run out of money, because I don't want to go to the taxpayers and ask for more money down the road. So that's the question I wanted to have, so go ahead, Trustee.
I would like, go ahead, Neil.
No, Jim, I'd like to thank you for, and all the department heads for being under budget this year compared to last year. And that's hard to do with rising insurance costs and, you know, a lot of compression and a lot of expenses coming from all angles, car insurance, car payments, gas, everything. And to all you guys, thank you for coming in on budget this year as opposed to less this year than last year, so thank you very much for your...
The department heads have done an excellent job.
Yes, absolutely.
That's actually why I'm standing up here. I just want to add my 2 cents. Starting in the fall, we actually start working on this budget, and I'd like to compliment, as you have already said, all the department heads for working on their budget for 2012, but also keeping in mind their spending for 2011. And as you saw from the report, Jim, that we're actually underspending our 2011 budget. Our 2012 budget is going to be less than our 2011 budget, and I'm just proud of the departments. They understand it. You know, government's got to get smaller. Tax revenues are down, and I think everybody understands it. The trustees understand it. I understand it, and the department heads understand it. So I just want to thank everybody, you, the trustees, and the department heads, for working on this and getting a budget that I think we can live with in 2012. There's going to be some cuts and maybe a little bit slower service here and there, but to the citizens, I don't think they will really see a difference in township government in 2012. And I think that's a good goal.
Okay, great. And we'll get this on the website?
If you pass it tonight, it'll be on the website tomorrow, because I haven't already been done, so.
Okay.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you. The final resolution I have to offer for your approval is 11-203. And this is a resolution that we have to pass every year if we want our taxes advanced to us or get advanced taxes. In other words, they will be, as they collect them, they will be giving us taxes. Yeah, a lump sum, and then we just won't have to wait until the end of the collection period to get it all in one.
I'll offer resolution 11-203, redemption funds of 2012 property tax collection.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Haddad?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you. I have nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing of the public on non-agenda items. I see a lot of familiar names, so I'm not sure, maybe they signed in. Mr. Hayes?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Ram?
Bert Ram, the Wolford Road again. I bounced back to that water problem out on Sylvania Avenue. I have dear friends that live on Holt Road. I'm not an engineer. I'm retired deputy chief, number 2 station, the volunteer program, and a tool and die, skilled trades in the factory. But I walked out through there before this flood came, because it happened to my friends 3 or 4 times before. And a layperson will go out and see that not only cleaning that ditch out will do some good, but you're going to have to check some bridges because they're that wide for that water to flow through. It's not just the cleanliness of the ditch, it's also the structure of the bridges. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, they showed that up in Michigan when they were talking about there, that same time too. Clearance. Yeah.
Paul and Nancy Carr?
Yes.
Our names are Paul and Nancy Carr at 4814 Carskadden Avenue. Although address is Toledo, it's 43615 Sylvania Township. I'm here to pay a compliment today. Change the tune a little bit. On your Sylvania Township's leaf pickup program. I think this year there's been 5 or 6 pickups, I'm not sure. But the one in early November was the one that I really noticed. It was the one that probably was the largest volume of leaves that were picked up
and subcontractors were used with those big front-end loaders. And I've got to tell you, those people moved a lot of leaves in a short period of time, and they did a wonderful job. My purpose here is to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Corey Dixon. I think she was, yes, she spoke with Tiffany.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that,
I have, under open discussion, I have to add one thing. It's hard to believe we're already at the end of the year. At the beginning of January, you set your meetings for that year. So in 2012, if you notice, our first meeting would be January 3rd. Typically, the holiday is the first and second. So I'm asking if the trustees, and you can wait till the next meeting to decide this, but to have our first meeting, the organizational meeting, where you set the agenda for next year, to have that actually Wednesday the 4th, because that'll give us some time to come back from the holiday, get the agenda prepared.
You gonna eat that much on New Year's Day? You gonna have that much to go on?
Since this is actually for next year, it doesn't affect our schedule for this year. If we go on the 4th, then we can set the agenda. You don't have to decide tonight.
No, we can do that next
But, unless you want to, but the next meeting, we can set the...
Okay.
we'll put that on the agenda for the next.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, I would like to offer a motion to go into executive session at 5:21 to discuss personnel matters for the zoning department.
And we also have police negotiations.
Police negotiations. All right. Mr. Mooney? Yes. Mr. Genowine? Yes. I was begging these guys earlier.